I'll call this EDC meeting to order. We'll start with the Pledge of Allegiance. Sorry. Catch you.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, liberty, and justice.
All right, looking for a motion to approve the minutes from last meeting.
I'll make a motion to approve them. I'll say the last meeting.
It was a special session with the RDC. I'll go ahead and second that since you are here. Those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed?
Abstain. I wasn't here.
Robert abstain. I skipped the meeting agenda, so I guess we approve the meeting agenda. I don't think we need to vote on it.
I don't have any changes, so
That works for me. Good. All right, new business. We need to swear in our new member, Robert Holland.
Ready,
You have it in front of you?
Are you guys
got it right here.
Okay.
You mean
I,
Robert Holland,
an appointee of the Fortville Council President to the Economic Development Commission. Are you gonna repeat after me?
oh, sure, an appointee of the Fortville Council President to the Economic Development Commission,
Do solemnly swear that I will faithfully perform the duties of my appointed office
do solemnly swear that I will faithfully perform the duties of my appointed office
and will support and honor all applicable laws of the state of Indiana and the town of Fortville.
and will support and honor all applicable laws of the state of Indiana and the town of Fortville.
I hereby affirm that I will perform the duties of this public trust in a fair, equitable, and ethical manner,
I hereby affirm that I will perform the duties of this public trust in a fair, equitable, and ethical manner,
according to the law and the best of my ability, so help me God.
according to the law and to the best of my ability, so help me God.
Just need your signature and pass it
Right
this
there.
way.
Awesome. Thanks, sir.
Do you want a copy of it, Robert?
No, it's okay.
Okay.
I swear.
Okay. You sat in the wrong seat, Louis. Okay, now we're looking for a vice president because I think Libby's already the secretary.
I believe so. That's what I have in my notes.
So
Your
Secretary.
secretary,
be looking for-
make a motion to make Art Sumar the vice president. Oh, you're the president? I thought you were. Wow.
I'll make a motion to make Mr. Robert Holland the vice president. Make the motion to make him the vice president, Mr. Robert Holland, the vice president. Those in favor? Opposed? Thank you. Do we need to reaffirm secretary? Is that good from the previous order?
You're still good. You
Cool. All right, moving forward, to conduct a public hearing, adopt resolution number 2023-7 alpha and authorize actions and proceedings necessary to amend a TIF bond for Ridgeview West Apartments. Start with board comments.
So we'll just go ahead and open the public hearing, right? So,
Go ahead and open the public hearing.
and let me give you, I don't know if you have copies of the.
This was the one that came in an email, right?
Yes.
Okay.
So maybe just to start, and we've got one member of the public back there, I see. Hart and Libby, you've been through this process for the MBAH. It's the same deal with the Economic Development Commission serving as a recommending body. Robert, we had some emails and texts about this, and so maybe it'd just be good to talk about the process and the role that you play. So you are part of the EDC is the body in charge of the Fortville Economic Development Commission. Well, there's another Department of Economic Development, right? And so in this process, one of your powers is that you're charged with looking at projects that will create jobs or prosperity. And also there's a component that if there are projects that address pollution, the EDC can handle those as well. So we're here tonight for the Ridgeview apartment project. One of the requirements is to have a report, and I've got a copy of that as well. It may have been emailed to you. It describes the project. So these are the two components for this evening. But I don't know how much of about the Ridgeview apartments. I know Libby and Robert, you both were through it. In Hart, we adopted a resolution in December, and then there have been some changes to that. So I don't know if Kent or Buzz, if you want to talk about the changes. Yes, please.
And while Buzz does it, I think for the record just to clarify that the messages between council and the EDC were just of questioning of policy and not of any kind of, just for the
That's
record.
correct.
Yeah.
So just to finish my thought before Buzz starts, ultimately, as part of the bond financing process in this particular procedure, the EDC will evaluate the project, make certain determinations that yes, it's in the general welfare, best interest of the town. It'll create or retain jobs, create opportunity, and that language is all in the proposed resolution, as well as then in the report. It was something else that you have to adopt to move forward to the bond issuance by the council, describes the project. So that information is in there. If you find that the proposed project and the proposed bond issuance does check the boxes, that it's in the best interest of the town, or it's going to create, possibility of jobs or retain jobs, create jobs, those types of things, then you can make a favorable recommendation to the council, approving the project, but it's not approving the bond, and also approving the stack of documents that my office has prepared, working with Buzz's office and Kent's bonds team. Send those to the council, and then the council is the body tonight. If you make a favorable recommendation that would adopt the ordinance that would then actually issue the debt. So that's the process. And Buzz can fill you in on the details of the financing and why we're having to do this again after we did it in December.
The short and simple answer is the original bond amount, I believe, was $1,980,000, and some of the things that have transpired over the course of, it's really been a year since we started on this. I think I have notes that go back to last July, but one of the things there's going to be just about $400,000 of utility system development charges that will go into the water and wastewater utilities. There's construction of vaults to hold the metering, to keep the metering outside of the building accessible to the water department. Of course, those meters are used for billing both water and wastewater. I think that's another estimated $125,000 cost. The party that's purchasing the TIF bonds, they've got some closing costs on their end with their bond lawyers, and there's closing costs on the town's end, which the Hudson Group, or is it the West Ridgeview LLC, the new
New
Yes.
Ridgeview West LLC.
Thank you. They'll be making all those payments at closing, so the town won't have any costs that they'll incur. There's about $117,000 of closing costs, and then there's just about $200,000 set aside for capitalized interest costs. The agreement with the bond purchaser, and they've been very accommodating. They're very comfortable with the revenue projections and so forth. And we're sort of separate from the deal that they have with the developer, but what they've tried to do is to defer. We're going to close, the scheduled closing is Friday, and then, but they're going to hold back on actually funding their piece until October 1st of 24. That cut the capitalized interest cost in just about half. So that was a strategic move that they were willing to do. And again, so just taking off the closing costs and the capitalized interest, that left a little less than 2.2 million toward the project. Then you've got the roughly $500,000 for the system development charges and the metering equipment that is going to be put in, and those payments go straight to the water and wastewater capacity funds. So those will be available for projects that are ongoing and forthcoming with the water and wastewater utility. And also they're constructing the road that connects to subdivision, the extension of Main Street will tie into the existing roads north of where it currently is. So that, if you factor all those things in, the part that really actually goes to the project enhancements is about $1.2 million, something like that. So that's sort of in a nutshell of how we got to a not to exceed number of 2.5 million. That hasn't been firmly decided yet. The council is going to address that, but somewhere between 2.3 and 2.5 million is going to be and we expect to have the rate locked in tomorrow. They weren't able to do it today because of the holidays or whatever. The Hageman Group is the group purchasing the bonds, and they're very experienced at TIF bonds. And again, they're very comfortable with the revenue projections. We've tried to always err on the conservative side when we're making those projections, but there's certainly enough TIF in our anticipated illustration that the conservative one we've been using to pay the bonds off in less than 25 years. That's counting the 3.5 years of capitalized interest. So there's really about a 20-year amortization of the actual principal and interest. And if our TIF revenues were to come in 10 or 15% higher, those bonds would pay off even quicker. So that's sort of in a nutshell. The maximum interest rate on the commitment from Hageman Group is 8%. I talked to Chow yesterday, and we're using 7.6% in our projections at this point in time. But I think we'll be probably pretty close to that number. It won't be 8%. It's a taxable TIF bond, and it's like we kind of call it a naked TIF in that there's no tax backup, there's no other revenues pledged by the town. It's all going to rely on the construction of the new apartment facilities, and again, I think I've seen some of the renderings. Are those the ones on the website? The ones that I saw your website after the last meeting, and I don't know, has this group seen the prototypes? So anyhow,
Right. I'm assuming nothing's changed on as far as the building structure and the. Okay. So Buzz, since this is being recorded and for any members of the public that may not know, one of the big things we've heard about this is there's no financial liability to the town of Portland.
correct.
So what happens if the bond payments don't get made?
Then that's between the bondholder and Hudson Investments, or they have an arrangement on their end that has made the bond purchaser feel very comfortable with the deal. And we just know that, it's a developer driven project. The developer is responsible for the bond payments. If there's a shortfall, they'll have to make that up somehow or work it out with Hageman Group, but we're out of it at that point. Our obligation is just to pledge TIF towards the debt retirement, and if there's not TIF, then, you know, that's a deal that it's not our problem, it's not the town's problem, it's between the developer.
They
and
still have
the-
to come up with the excess.
I'm sorry,
If the TIF doesn't fund it, they still need to come up with the difference.
correct.
So did this bond get extended 5 years?
Well, the life of the TIF area is 25 years. The life of the bond, there's, I think, about 20 scheduled payments. So let me give you a copy of
Yeah, I had the same question from the RDC minutes in August. It was 20 years at 1.7 and now it's 25 at the 2.5.
But we're showing, yeah, we're showing. The actual amortization period is going to be 20 years or less. And if the TIF comes in stronger, it could theoretically pay off in quite a bit less time. But there's about 3.5 years before the facility gets actually built, assessed, and then it gets billed the following year after that. So that's part of the 25-year life of the TIF area. We're right now with the maximum amount, we're paying it off in about 20.5 years, I believe. You start making payments. Well, we reach our stabilized TIF for projected to start receiving that in 2025 is when there'll be a partial assessment for taxes payable in 2025, and then in 2026, it's at full stabilization at that point. And again, we've used $133 a square foot in the assessment assumptions, and what we're seeing in other developments and Fishers and so forth, and new housing, that we're probably low. We expect that that's a low number, and that, you know, maybe $150 to $180 is more the range that it will actually come in at. But again, we don't want to be overestimating the TIF revenues.
So I see this as 25 years, but to your point, Buzz, it doesn't look like it starts accruing and interest isn't due until that first payment looks to be
Yep.
2026, and this looks to be about 22 years of payments.
We are,
Is that right?
there'll be that's right. It's only a half a year at the end. The last,
Right. The first one and the last one were
Yeah.
half.
right. So
Okay.
yeah, the interest won't start accruing. This is part of the negotiations between the developer and Hageman Group, is that we're gonna close. The official closing would be scheduled for Friday, but they're gonna wait until Hudson spends all their investment monies before any of the TIF money gets spent. So they'll fund it sort of as a reimbursement draw October 1st of 2024. So that's the point at which interest will start accruing on the TIF bond. But all the cap I is part of it's factored into the bond sizing and so forth. It's nothing that the town actually pays out of its own coffers or its existing TIF. It's just the new TIF area that's carved out for this project.
I have one more question. So you addressed this at the beginning about the increase in the bond amount. You said a lot of that sounds like it was due to utility costs.
Well, that's a big chunk of
Weren't those factored into the original bond?
you know.
amount?
I don't know that we had it broken down that detailed back then, but
I thought that it
there
was, so,
were some in there, I know. Do you want to address that?
or were the costs greater for some reason than
I think some of the
And those costs are-
construction related costs are.
the
more
utility
than that.
costs are pretty straightforward, but you were talking a lot about, and maybe Joe knows that answer, but as far as those, a lot of these utility costs that were increasing the cost of that bond, I thought those were baked into the prior.
And Kent with Hudson Investing. Some of it was on the front end. They were a little higher. I'd say what we didn't anticipate were the 125,000 for the vaults. I think also we've done a good job. I mean, the Hegman Group has been great, as Buzz said, in helping us really reduce the capitalized interest. But we still have about 300,000 that just goes to closing costs and interest. That doesn't go anywhere, just goes to getting it issued. So all in, when you look at it, say it's 2.5 million, we have about 1 million that actually goes to build the building. There's 1.5 that goes to issuance costs, building Main Street, tap fees. And other things.
That, all of that would have been accounted for even in the initial bond. So I'm curious of where the full amount of this additional,
Some of it was accounted for. If you look at it globally, this went from being a $16 million project to an $18 million project over the last year. And that's because construction costs went up, interest went up, as we all know. We're facing reduced loan proceeds because interest has gone up.
Right.
4 percentage points on construction loans. So we're actually bringing more cash to the table ourselves because of that. So a lot of things have changed in the last year.
Right.
So the ask really is just simply that we were all okay with 2 million. Can we be okay with 2.5 to help us get through this and get this thing built? That's really the ask at the end of the day.
and then I guess the last, just one more time, was the additional financial ask, Buzz, from the town. As far as out of, writing a check, nothing like that. This is all going in and being funded back from the TIF revenue.
Correct. And the RDC has met a couple weeks ago, give or take, and approved allocating or designating the TIF proceeds from this project in this area to this bond issue.
Okay, that's all the questions I had.
Ms. Libby. Public, any comments from the public? Okay, with that, we'll close the public hearing, and I'll be looking for a motion regarding the these.
These are you would sign. Two things for you.
Okay. All right, looking for motion.
So we do the resolution for.
The resolution, does it need a number or are we just going with one?
We've got it on the agenda as 2023-7A, and I will just make that correction on the top. Then it's had it as 2023-1.
All right. Make a motion to approve resolution number 2023-7A, a resolution of the Town of Fortville Economic Development Commission approving and authorizing certain actions and proceedings with respect to certain proposed taxable economic development revenue bonds by title only.
I'll second.
Further discussion? Those in favor?
Aye.
Those opposed? Passes. And what's the next one you want?
The next one is the report that you have to find. I just gave you a copy of that, Hart. And that just goes to the council and states that it's part of the statute, says you have to adopt a report making certain findings. You'll see in the report that it references the at least 3 permanent jobs that'll be created with estimated salaries of $55,000 a year. Project is a minimum investment of 16.5 million. Rough numbers. Kent says it's gonna be more than that, 2.5 million. Bond issue not to exceed. So it just summarizes what we just talked about in the public hearing.
Do you need a motion or anything for that?
Yes, motion to approve the.
Do we have
report.
that one? Or do you just have it? Make a motion to approve the report of the Town of Fortville Economic Development Commission concerning the proposed financing and economic development facilities for New Ridgeview West LLC by title only.
Any discussion? Or actually, we need a second.
I'll second.
Any discussion? Those in favor?
Aye.
Those opposed? Carries.
That's all I have for you.
All right, public comments? Staff comments,
None for me. Excuse me.
board comments?
None here.
Be looking for a motion to adjourn.
Make a motion to adjourn at 6:56.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Motion carries. Thank you.
Everybody got the phone on, so I know. Yep. Please stand for the pledge of allegiance. I pledge allegiance. One. Indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Missy, you want to do roll call for me, please?
Yes, Fritz.
Here.
Tanya. Here. Becky. Here. Libby.
Here.
Ryan.
Here.
I declare we have a quorum. Can I get a motion to approve the meeting agenda?
I make a motion to approve the meeting agenda as written. Second.
All in favor? Aye. Opposed? The ayes have it. Approve the minutes from the previous meeting on June 19th. Can I get a motion, please?
Make a motion to approve the minutes for June 19th, 2023. A second.
All in favor? Aye. Opposed? The ayes have it. Thank you. New business, Spencer Wood from Burgess. Come on up. Well, I shouldn't say Burgess. I should say from FoxGardin Ale.
Hi. So we are requesting an event permit for our anniversary party. We choose a charity every year. This year it's the Mount Vernon Education Foundation. We're working with Renee Oldham on that. Did the form, everything. The only thing we're really requesting from the town is, like always, the use of the rest of the parking lot that's public. We don't need any electricity, picnic tables, anything else, just permission to use that remaining side of the lot.
Do we have any questions? Any questions from the public? Okay, can I get a motion for the event?
I make a motion to approve FoxGardin Kitchen Ale benefit event for July 15th, 2023.
Thank you.
Wait a minute, we got a second.
Second.
All in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? The ayes have it. Thank you.
Thank you.
Alrighty, moving on. Now we're back on to old business. Council to consider second reading of ordinance number 2023-6A, a rezoning of Vernon Township property at 602 Vitality Drive from commercial to institutional.
All right.
Adam?
Yes, for this particular item, I'm just going to go through the items in state law that you are required to at least consider in making your decision. They're the same items that were presented to the Planning Commission this month. All right, so if you recall, this involves a rezone of the Vernon Township property. It is out at Vitality Drive, involves about 10.77 acres, and there's 3 parcels. This went to you earlier in June for first reading, so I won't rehash anything. So the evaluation criteria for rezones per Indiana code is as follows. The text in italics is what I had written and what the Plan Commission had adopted as part of their positive or favorable recommendation at their meeting. The first item is this rezone consistent with the comprehensive plan? Technically, no. The town of Fortville future growth concept map of March 2016 identified these parcels as commercial. However, the plan was done prior to the township's acquisition and use of these parcels for a government or institutional purpose. And additionally, the map is over 7 years old and it's in the process of being updated. Again, the criteria you simply need to take into account. It's not necessarily binding that every element has to say yes. So as you can see, here's that future growth concept map from 2016. You can see it's showing as commercial. Is it consistent with the current conditions and the character of the current structures? Yes. This is one of the motivating factors for doing this rezone, is to ensure that the zoning matches the current use of the land as institutional. And of course, when we say the term institutional in terms of zoning, it's primarily used for government uses. It can also include religious institutions, things of that nature. 3, is it consistent with the most desirable use of land? Yes. The township purchased the land and is being used as a public property. Additionally, the land at the southern portion of this rezone is intended for uses that benefit the public, such as a community garden and fire training facility. The area near the office building is ideal for a new library. Number 4, is it consistent with conservation of property values? Yes. A well-planned community with easily accessible public facilities in prominent areas will help to ensure strong property values. And then lastly, is it consistent with responsible growth and development? Yes. It's the same response with the previous evaluation item number 4. And additionally, making more use of publicly owned land for additional uses that benefit the public, things such as a library, community gardens, fire training facility, is really a wise use of land. It makes for efficient use of tax dollars. And here, which I don't think was presented at the previous meeting, is what a build out plan could look like for the township property. You can see it features the community gardens at the south east corner of the property. This is just south of the existing fire station, and then the Vernon Township Library. The proposal is to wrap it around the existing Vernon Township office and fire department building that's there. And then the library could potentially be expanded in the future to the south and over to the southwest. So with that, if you have any questions, I'm more than happy to address those. The township trustee as well as the township attorney are here as well. Thank you.
Thank you, madam. Any questions? Does anybody have any questions from the public? Okay, can I get a motion, please?
I make a motion to approve the second reading of ordinance number 2023-6A, a rezone of Vernon Township property at 602 Vitality Drive from commercial neighborhood to institutional.
I second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Oppose? The ayes have it. Thank you. All right, council to consider first reading of ordinance number 2023-7A, authorizing TIF bonds for Ridgeview West project. Adam?
I can probably.
Yeah,
Okay.
I'll defer to Alex.
Yeah, As you probably saw when you were coming in just before the council meeting tonight, the Economic Development Commission met and they approved the project, the Ridgeview apartment project. Kent Ritter from the Hudson Group's here. He can talk about the plans and why things have changed, et cetera. Buzz, the town's accountants here as well to talk about the numbers and all things that I can't talk about in any sort of detail. But from the procedural side of things, the council is the last step. And although the RDC met and pledged the TIF revenues for this project to service the bonds, the proposed bond is not to exceed $2.5 million. The next step was the Economic Development Commission reviewing it. They held a public hearing. The law allows them to hold a public hearing on behalf of both them as the EDC and the council as the fiscal body of the town. We didn't have any negative comments in the public hearing, and they approved a resolution recommending that the council adopt this ordinance and take the actions necessary to issue the bonds. So that's what the ordinance is in front of you. And like I said, Buzz and Kent can answer any questions. I know we've had a lot of talk about this project over the last probably year or so. And I can answer any questions on the legal side of things as well.
Any questions? Yeah, okay. Can I get a motion, please?
I need a motion to approve ordinance number 2023 or 2023-7A authorizing TIF bonds. Maybe I should read it how it's written. Ordinance authorizing the issuance of Town of Fortville, Indiana taxable economic development revenue bonds, Series 2023 Ridgeview West project, and lending the proceeds thereto to New Ridgeview West LLC or an affiliate or permitted assignee thereof, and authorizing and approving other actions in respect thereto.
Can I get a second?
Next second.
All in favor? Aye. Opposed? The ayes have it. Thank you. All righty, council to consider suspending the rules to allow a second reading of ordinance number 2023-7A on the same night as introduced. We gotta have a motion to
Yep.
suspend. So can I get a motion to suspend?
I make a motion to suspend the meeting.
Suspend the rules.
Yeah.
Suspend the rules to allow second reading of ordinance number 2023-7A on the same night.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Ayes have it. Okay, go ahead. Now, what,
So we
I
need
make a motion to approve the second reading of ordinance number 2023-7A. As written.
a second.
all in favor? Aye. Opposed? Ayes have it. Now can I have a motion do we have to make a motion to re-adjourn the meeting back or?
No, this was a public hearing, so this is
Okay, all right, good.
regular business.
Okay, council, now the council to hold the second read. Oh, all right,
Done.
we're done. Sweet.
All done.
My God. That could be a little confusing. All right, department heads, Joe Renner,
Be
please.
quick. I don't have much, just. And Pat can step in and help me out on this one, but a couple meetings ago, he had asked to pay the overtime to the officers for doing a blitz. And our handbook allows the overtime and for payment and all that stuff. But it, coming to my attention later that what his intent was to pay them time and a half for the blitz hours and not necessarily for working overtime. So after doing some checking and the proper way to do that, our bookkeeper suggested that what we do is have the council approve a bonus for each one of the officers to keep it clean and keep the process, in the handbook and everything. We're following a handbook and doing it the right way. So I prepared a list of the 4 officers that worked those blitz hours with the bonus requested. If the council would consider paying it that way as a bonus rather than the overtime. And if, and again, Pat, jump in there, but if we could going forward, if we could follow like the the way it's spelled out in the handbook, we have the authority to go ahead and pay out that overtime if you guys will allow up to the 3,000 that he's got in his budget. So we can pay it as any of the overtime in lieu of comp time. So we can go ahead and move forward unless you want to come back, I mean, to every meeting and do because that just makes it more complicated to come back and do a bonus for every week. So as long as you're okay with that, we'll pay out this bonus and then allow us to go ahead and pay out for the overtime hours that he sees fit in lieu of giving comp time. And that would help us move forward a lot smoother, I think. They're good? Okay.
So what do you need from us?
The council to approve these officers to receive these bonus dollars that I've spelled out in front of you.
I make a motion then to approve the bonus requested for the blitz pay and future bonus as necessary.
Pay out overtime.
Pay out overtime, yeah.
I second.
All in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? The ayes have it. Thank you.
And Heath is not here, so I'll go ahead and just bring up the fireworks and the Summerfest event is going to be happening this next Saturday. A section of, and I hope you didn't have this on your list of stuff, but a section of Stat Street between Main and Knoll will be having that closed down for traffic for setup Friday evening and most of the day Saturday till they tear down Saturday evening after the fireworks. And then it'll be open back up for through traffic. And as far as the water treatment plant, we're still not up and running, but we're hoping to be yet this week. I hate to keep reporting the same thing, but they had to put a pause on it, but we're hoping that this week they'll be pumping again.
Did they finally get everything fixed with the power?
The power was a big issue when a massive tree come down and took out the lines from the community center all the way down to the shelter house. So it had the water plant out, the park barn out, shelter house, everything in the park was out. Sewer treatment plant was out. We had 2 backup generators running to keep the plants operating. They did get out, fix the wires that was down, thought they had it all done and they left. And our generators will run for another 20 minutes and then they just automatically switch back to power. Then we noticed that they didn't switch back and Heath still didn't have power at the park barn. So, and we determined that there was still another problem. So we had to get them back out there a couple hours later and reset some fuses that had snapped out. So they're up and running. There are still phone lines on the ground. To my knowledge, they're not harmful to anybody, but those lines are only serving the sewer treatment plant. And it also helps with the automatic dialer. If anything goes wrong at the sewer plant, it will call the employee on call and let them know what the issue is so they can get out there and take care of it. So until they get out there and take care of it, they're having to go out and monitor it quite frequently just to make sure that there's not something going crazy with it.
Thank you. Let's see here. Who's next? Chief, you're up.
You don't want to hear from that.
Oh, shoot. Sorry, Adam.
No worries. There's nothing for me to report unless you have any questions, anything.
Need to clean my glasses.
That's okay.
Anybody have any questions for Adam? All right, thank you. Chief,
I don't have anything. I gave you guys a second quarter quarterly report for 2023. I realized once I printed all the paper that I forgot to include accidents, but I've been keeping you up to date on that. June, we had 15 accidents total, which went up 2 from May. But they are, I think people are starting to figure out the way traffic's flowing through town now. So that's for your review. I'll be happy to answer any questions either tonight or at the next meeting if you guys want to take some time and review everything. It's basically all the calls for service and tickets written, and then our monthly trainings and how many hours the reserve works for that quarter.
Out of those accidents, how many do you think were related to the Broadway project?
I think there was 3 that I gave you. Wasn't there 3? There were 3 or 4 that I gave you a copy of a report on.
Yeah.
A lot of them are just on the side around
Side streets.
side streets where somebody doesn't realize it's not a four-way stop and they go thinking that it's a four-way stop and end up getting T-boned. So. Other than that, I don't have anything unless you have anything for me.
Any question? Okay, thank you. Missy, you have anything for us?
I do, just two things. Wait, let me get to mine. We received our June settlement for taxes, was just over 783,000. And that was up about 68,000 from last year. And unfortunately, my deputy clerk is retiring in September. And I'm looking for a part-time employee that would fill the position. So if you guys know of anybody, send them my way, flexible hours. That's it.
And a great boss?
Absolutely.
What was the settlement? Again, Missy.
The exact amount is $783,226.17.
Thank you.
Uh-huh.
Alex,
I don't have anything unless you have questions for me.
any questions? Okay. Public comment? No? Town council comments? Becky,
Nothing.
Ryan,
Not for me.
Tanya,
I'll
Libby?
put it on here.
Well, I do.
I say best for last.
It's at the solid waste management meeting today. And just so everybody knows, we're having a recycling event in Fortville on July 15th, which is a Saturday. You want to put it in your calendars. July 15th from 9 until noon. I will be volunteering.
Good. You can
So
help me lift the
bring all your-
boxes.
The cost for shredding. And then electronics, they have anywhere from $5 to $20, depends on what you bring. For fee, but it'll be over at the trustees office.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. Yeah, so share that with your neighbors and friends.
Thank you. I don't have any comment tonight. Can I get a motion to approve and sign vouchers?
I make a motion to approve and sign vouchers.
I second.
All in favor? Aye. Opposed? The ayes have it. Adjourn, a motion.
To adjourn at 7:27.
I second.
All in favor? Aye. Opposed? The ayes have it. Thank you. That was a new.